Are you looking for all the latest pro football news and content? Of course you are. Who doesn't love football? The question is, how do you get all the latest pro football news and content? There's so many different pro football podcasts on the internet. Which one do you choose? Which one is the right fit for you? Well, you go with the Cross the Middle Show, one of the fastest growing football podcasts out right now. Over the past year, we've climbed the Spotify rankings and become a show you have to listen to if you're a football fan. Find out the Ravens will go all the way with Odell Beckham Jr. Find out the Eagles did enough to make it back to the Super Bowl. You'll get all of our best stories for just $1 per month. All you have to do is sign up by clicking the link in the episode description box. It's John Kuzmo. We got another episode of the Cross the Middle Show coming at you. We got the Trey Lance story up first. We're going to talk a little bit about Bryce Young. Two big stories coming at you. Let's start with Trey Lance. The big story from tonight is the Trey Lance story. So Trey Lance was just traded from the 49ers to the Cowboys. Remember, these two teams are rivals. So the fact that the 49ers decided to send Trey Lance to the Cowboys was a little bit surprising. But it probably also means that the 49ers have seen enough from Trey Lance. Remember, Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, those guys beat Trey Lance out. Trey Lance was the number 3 quarterback on the depth chart for the 49ers. They had seen enough from Trey Lance. They were ready to move on. Remember, they traded up those 3 first-round picks. It ends up being one of the worst trade-ups of all time because Sam Darnold didn't pan out for the 49ers. And, Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, those guys were just ready to go with the quarterbacks they have, and Brock Purdy and Sam Darnold. So they were just at the end of the road with Trey Lance. They trade him to the Cowboys for a 4th-round pick. Now, it's a little bit surprising for the Cowboys because the Cowboys have Dak Prescott and they have Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush was a really good backup quarterback. He had a good season this past year. So it is a little surprising that the Cowboys would trade for Trey Lance. Now, the reason they did that is because they're going to probably keep Lance as their third quarterback. I think that's pretty obvious. It also spells disaster for Will Grier. I don't think Will Grier is going to be able to hang around with the Cowboys because if he was going to be able to hang around with the Cowboys, why would they trade for Trey Lance? That wouldn't have happened. So Trey Lance is going to be the 3rd-string quarterback for the Cowboys. They're probably going to keep 3 quarterbacks, obviously. So they have Dak Prescott, they have Cooper Rush, and they have Trey Lance. So the question becomes, can Trey Lance beat out Cooper Rush for that backup quarterback spot? Personally, I don't think he can. Cooper Rush was pretty good this past year to the point where I thought Cooper Rush should have left the Cowboys and tried to get a starting job with some other team. Now he stayed with the Cowboys, and I don't know if that was a smart move for Cooper Rush because now they trade for Trey Lance. It's kind of like, if you're Cooper Rush, hey, what's going on here? I had a great year this past year, won some games for this team, kept them afloat when Dak Prescott was out of action. Why would you bring in this other quarterback to compete with me when I had a good run for you guys this past year? So if I'm Cooper Rush, I'm a little bit upset. But I don't think Trey Lance can beat out Cooper Rush. I don't think there's any chance in hell that Trey Lance would ever beat out Dak Prescott. You got a lot of Cowboys fans that don't like Dak Prescott. And you got a lot of fans on the internet right now that love Trey Lance. That doesn't make any sense to me. Either group doesn't make sense to me because you have the Dak Prescott haters who are wrong because Dak Prescott's actually pretty good. And then you have the Trey Lance lovers who are wrong because Trey Lance just got beat out by Brock Purdy and Sam Darnold. There's a reason he got traded away by the 49ers, and they weren't going to move off him unless he was really bad with how much they traded up to get him. 3 first-round picks. So, yeah, it doesn't make any sense why all these people love Trey Lance. He's got this huge following and all these people who think he's good. He's not. There's a reason he got traded. There's a reason he got beat out by Brock Purdy and Sam Darnold. Well, he goes to the Cowboys, and now he's behind Dak Prescott and Cooper Rush. Can he beat out Cooper Rush? I have my doubts. There's no chance he's going to beat out Dak Prescott. So they're going to try to develop him as the number 3 quarterback and just try to keep him in the fold and see if, they can develop him a little bit through practice and, just try to bring him along. But even if Dak Prescott goes down, who are you handing the ball to? Personally, I'm handing the ball to Cooper Rush because we've already seen what he can do in this league this past year. So, yeah, the Trey Lance situation is a big story just because, everybody kind of could see the writing on the wall heading into this season when, the 49ers signed Sam Darnold in free agency, because when they signed Sam Darnold in free agency, you could kind of see the direction that things were going. You could kind of see that it was, Trey Lance's time was ticking, I guess you can say. And that ended up being true for, Trey Lance. So now he finds himself on the Cowboys. Will Grier will probably be out. Trey Lance is going to take over that number 3 spot. They're going to get him reps in practice, and hopefully he shows something. Remember, they traded a 4th-round pick, so it is low risk, high reward if he ends up becoming something. But, he did come with a little bit of a cap hit, so that was really the risk in this situation, taking on the cap hit. As far as a 4th-round pick, you can live with losing a 4th-round pick. And, Trey Lance does go from the 49ers to one of their biggest rivals, the Cowboys. Those two teams have a history with one another. So it's interesting to see unfold, but I think the 49ers fleece the Cowboys. I think they know Trey Lance can't play. I think they've seen enough from him where they're just like, okay, this isn't going anywhere. We'll take the 4th-round pick from the Cowboys. It's the best offer we could get. And, we have an extra 4th-round pick for the next draft. For the Cowboys, it's kind of like, they take a stab at a guy that was a 3rd overall pick and someone that is still young. That's the only thing that, really could go the Cowboys' way, is Trey Lance is still really young. So maybe, in a couple of years, if he's still on the team, if he does, start to grasp the game a little bit better, if the game starts to slow down and he kind of gets a feel for everything, just because he's older and more mature, not only in football, but in life as well, because, as you get older, things, not only on the football field, but things in life start to slow down for you. You're more mature, you're more responsible, you're more of a professional. If those things start to click for Trey Lance, then yeah, maybe it will work out just because he's a little bit older and he's got more experience in life. Maybe that's what Jerry Jones was thinking. This is a really young kid who's still too young and still too green to really assess. But for the 49ers, they're thinking Super Bowl. Their eye is on the Super Bowl, on the ultimate prize. They have Brock Purdy, who is going to be the guy for them just because he stepped up this past year and showed that he's capable of being a starter for the 49ers franchise. Sam Darnold looked really good in off-season workouts and in the preseason. So he's obviously the next man up. And honestly, Sam Darnold could, if he got a shot, he could take the ball and run with it too. So I don't think Trey Lance was ever going to have any shot at beating those two guys out. He was just too far behind. So the 49ers take the 4th-round pick. Cowboys are betting on Trey Lance's youth and hoping that, when he gets a little bit older, he'll, develop a little bit more. Like I said, though, he's still behind Dak Prescott and Cooper Rush down there in Dallas. The next story we have is Bryce Young. Bryce Young had a decent outing against the Lions in the preseason game tonight. Started that first half. It's still going on. And he started out, I think, like 4 for 4 maybe, and then cooled off a little bit. Then he came back and threw a touchdown to Adam Thielen. I think it was on a corner route. So it was a little bit better showing than we've seen in some of these other preseason games from Bryce Young. It was the confidence that he needed moving forward, throwing a touchdown and just having a successful drive. That's something that he really needed for himself, just getting accustomed to the professional level and what it takes to be successful in the NFL. So I think that's good for Bryce Young. If there's one thing that did impress me for Bryce Young, it's his escapability. He is elusive in the backfield. When these pass rushers are coming after him, he can slip under the pass rush, buy a little time, and then create on the edge as he's throwing on the run. He's good at those things. He can escape the pressure. There's no doubt about that. That's his probably his biggest strength is being able to escape the pressure and then improv on the fly, throw on the run, do those type of things. That's going to help him this first year with the Panthers when he's, just, ironing out the wrinkles of how to be a professional quarterback in the National Football League. It's not easy. There's no doubt about that. It's not easy. So he's going to have to use that escapability to create some plays for this offense. Him and I think Jonathan Mingo have a good relationship. Those two seem to be on the same page. Bryce Young looks his way often. Adam Thielen had the touchdown. They need some of the other guys to get healthy that they have there. DJ Chark, we don't know when he's going to be back. Didn't look good with him. So, Bryce Young, he's going to have to lean on his ability to be elusive and his ability to juke some of these pass rushers out of their shoes and then, create a little something that might not be there with these traditional pocket passers who aren't as athletic, because Bryce Young is more athletic than a lot of these traditional pocket passers you see in the NFL who can't, escape the pressure but have big arms, are great at throwing the football. But when it comes to, being elusive and, shaking off the pass rush, they just can't do it. We see it all the time in the NFL. Even look at the great Tom Brady. He's not a guy that's going to beat you with his feet or his legs. He's a guy that's just going to drop back and beat you with his arm the whole entire game. But if the pass rush gets to him, there's not a high percentage of escapability for Tom Brady. That's not the case with Bryce Young. You get to him, you think you got him, and then he kind of breaks free, and then one of his wide receivers is working back to him. He makes a throw, and I don't want to say it's backyard football, but it's really the ability to improv on the fly and to create something that isn't there and create a little magic, I guess you can say. That's what Bryce Young does. That's his game. He did it all night tonight against the Lions. James Houston had him for a sack, and he was able to escape James Houston and create a nice throw for the Panthers offense. Or even if he doesn't throw it, he takes off and runs the ball and gets as much as he can. Those are the plays that, are like, okay, if the Panthers offensive line doesn't hold up or they're not as good as, they need to be, at least Bryce Young can protect himself a little bit by, making the most out of a situation when there's nothing there. That's what he does. He did the same thing at Alabama. He's always on the run, getting out near the sidelines and keeping his eyes downfield and scanning the field to just see if anything's opening up for him. Sometimes he is able to find his wide receivers. Had a couple nice throws to Adam Thielen in this game. One, like I said, went for a touchdown on a corner route. So one of the better showings for Bryce Young. I was a little bit impressed in this game. Up until this point, I haven't been very impressed by Bryce Young. So a nice outing for him, one where he can walk away from this game and say, okay, if I keep playing like that, if I keep going to my playmakers, Adam Thielen, probably the main guy, keep getting Mingo involved, then maybe this offense can, hold up until some of the other guys, Marshall, Chark get back. That's what they need. It's tough in the NFL, especially when your playmakers aren't there, because then, your third and fourth wide receiver have to step up and you have to kind of make do until your real playmakers get back. That's what the Panthers find themselves in. They got a rookie quarterback. It's a tough situation. New head coach and Frank Reich, they're all trying to chip in a little bit and make this whole thing work and make life easier for Bryce Young. Tonight was a success for them. Even if the Panthers lose the game to the Lions, they were down at halftime because Teddy Bridgewater came in and made some plays for the Lions. But it was still a victory for their starting offense. And if their starting offense stayed in the game, you never know. It might have been a different outcome. Even if the Panthers lose this game, like I said, it was still a victory for Bryce Young, for Frank Reich, for Adam Thielen, and the rest of that offense. So it was a good showing for them, and they need to take that confidence into week one. I think they're playing the Falcons in week one. Don't quote me on that one. I'm not totally certain. I'm fairly certain. I think it's Panthers Falcons. So it should be interesting to see if Bryce Young can keep it going. That Falcons team has some offense, so they're going to be able to put some points on the board. They did a good job of that this last year. So Bryce Young and the Panthers offense is going to have to match the Falcons' output on the offensive side of the ball. So it's going to be up to Bryce Young to keep doing what he does and put some points on the board. I'm John Kuzma. That's all I got. Sign up for just $1 per month by clicking the link in the episode description box. Thank you guys so much. I'm John Kuzma. Have a great night.